Moving over to our region, the tense situation developing in the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah could bring about another round of fighting with Hamas in Gaza. That's according to senior Israeli officials. To make sense of this complicated story, I'd like to welcome Ishai Fleischer, international spokesperson for the Jewish community in Hebron, and from Jerusalem, Fatah activist Samer Sinijlawi. Thank you so much both for joining me today. Samer, I'll start with you. How tense is the situation in East Jerusalem? We've seen the fighting a year ago in May. Do you sense that we are on the path to the same way?
Well, definitely. We are definitely, and I'm sorry to say this, unfortunately, we are going towards war, repeating what has happened last May. It's if you see what would be in next April. Next April we will have the Ramadan season for Muslims. We will have the Easters for Christians, and we will have the Pesach for Jews, all happening at the same time, condensed in 1 square kilometer, the old city, with the habit of lighting fires from people like Ben-Gvir and Ariel King. We are going to war. Nobody will avoid this war, unfortunately, and we are sacrificing again hundreds of lives of Palestinians, tens of lives of Israelis. We will force again the Americans to pay another $1 billion for Israel from tax-paying money to reinforce the Iron Dome. And all of this because two people are enjoying lighting fire in Jerusalem. And what's there is not only some personal steps taken by Ben-Gvir or Ariel King. These people are acting within a strategy that has the cover of Netanyahu. They are trying to push the collapse of the Israeli current coalition, and all at the expense of innocent lives from the Palestinian side.
So let's ask the Israeli side. Ishai Fleischer, thank you so much for joining me. What's in there? I understand the tense situation. A house of Jewish people was burned. Cars of Jewish people were burned. The Israeli Shabak and police arrested those people. So it's a defense issue. What's there politically? Why going in there and igniting the situation by politicians?
Well, first thing is, I think that we've heard that there's a bullying tactic that's happening here. We're being told, and we hear it from my friend Samer, who I know very well, and we hear that we're careening towards a war. Why? Because some people are acting criminally. Palestinians who attack Jews that live there on property that's been Jewish since the 30s. Politicians that want justice and rights, according to what the Supreme Court of Israel itself. So we have right-wing politicians, but nobody accuses the Supreme Court of being overly right-wing, and yet it too agrees exactly with these politicians. This is Jewish land. So we're being bullied. An example that Samer said a few minutes ago is that, oh my God, there's going to be Ramadan, Passover, and Easter. I would think that would be the most beautiful thing in the world. All the three great religions serving God in the old city of Jerusalem at the same time. But no, we're being told, watch out. You're going to have to increase your rocket protection. You're going to have to watch out for attacks because we're going to be angry. Well, why are they angry? What's the source of this whole thing? Well, it's an effort to ethnically cleanse Jews from a neighborhood that was already ethnically cleansed once in 1948.
But Ishai, you know,
and yet this property has remained Jewish. Even our own Supreme Court, Israeli Supreme Court, has acknowledged that it's Jewish.
Ishai,
so
both
holding
sides,
on to the truth and to the land is very important.
Both sides are looking in some kind of a mirror. You spoke of ethnically cleansing Jews from East Jerusalem, and some would say the same about Palestinians, about Arabs. My question is, because we sit for decades on a barrel of explosives, That's a reality here. Hamas is trying to ignite things from Gaza. If it needs, it shoots from Gaza, etc., etc. Since we don't want this war, and I agree the three of us don't want this war, why? That was my initial question. Why do we need to see politicians, as Samer mentioned, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Aryeh King, coming there and pouring more and more oil into this barrel of explosive? What's good in it?
I think first thing, it's politicians represent people. And there's a will of the people to hold on to the truth. I want to remind you, by the way, that Hamas and the same type of phrases were said when the United States was going to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and put the embassy in. They said there's going to be a war. You guys have to watch out. We're angry. We're angry. And we went ahead with truth and truth-based diplomacy, and nothing really happened. And here there's a lot of threats, but the threats are there in order to keep Jews from their rightful property. And we're talking, by the way, here's another factoid. This is about 300 meters from the central police station of Israel. The police can patrol it. The police can crack down on terrorism of any kind. If it's Jewish, then crack down on those. And if it's Arab and Palestinian, by the way, they're Jerusalem Israeli Arabs. They're not Palestinians, right? Then crack down on those folks. There's a police way. It doesn't have to be politicians. It doesn't have to be courts.
Yes.
Crack down on the rock throwers, crack down on the burners. They've burnt, one family has had their car burnt 9 times. That could be stopped with a little bit of policing.
So it was stopped.
We have to be strong out there.
Facts, Ishai, it was stopped. The Shabak and the Israeli police arrested those people, according to my information. Samer, back to you. Do you see a linkage between what's going on in Jerusalem and what's going on in the West Bank and in Gaza? Meaning that currently Gaza is quiet and Hamas is very reluctant in going back to fighting as it did last May. But do you see things erupting in the upcoming months? You've mentioned the April month, Ramadan, Passover, and Easter. Do you actually see it happening, or it's just a warning, be safe?
Well, Ben-Gvir is provoking the situation towards escalation. It will happen. And yes, Ramadan and Easter and Pesach are things to celebrate. But unfortunately, in Jerusalem, under these provocations, they will bring people to fight each other in the streets. Jerusalem is a very sensitive issue. And Yishai and most of the Israelis need to understand that they cannot have exclusivity on Jerusalem. Why do they expect, why does Yishai expect that he loves Jerusalem more than me? This is a city for 3 religions. This is a city for 2 nations, and nobody can have monopoly or exclusivity on this. 3 people, 2 people, 3 religions should live equally.
So Samer, shortly, what is the solution? What do you suggest?
Unfortunately, the Israeli law allows Jewish to claim properties that was theirs before 48 and does not allow us Palestinians to claim properties
so what do you
that
suggest?
were ours before 48. I suggest we need to be aware that there is no legal, there is no security solution for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict or for Jerusalem. It should be a political solution. And the only political solution is that we accept each other as equal.
Okay.
Related to this.
Last word from you, Ishai Fleischer. And not the problem. The problem is obvious. A solution.
A solution is to push back on the jihad. I think that Samer explained it very well. They want to bully us into a political solution. They want to bully us and terrorize us until we give away the land. And I think the solution is to be strong, like the Middle East requires, because that's what's respected around.
Yes.
Push back on the Hamas. You push back on criminality. You do police work.
Ishai
push back on people who call for destruction, and that will bring calm in the end.
Yes.
We're strong. People will respect us.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict won't be solved during this conversation. Ishai Fleischer, Samer Sinijlawi, thank you so much, gentlemen, both for joining me today.